Somehow I've never made a video about this. I don't know how. Because it's something so close to my heart and important that I'm really surprised I haven't. And it might be because I've sort of already discussed this from the when I used to be on Divine Art, and basically I used to treat it as if I was like an influencer in a sense. So I was hoping I'd be one. But it didn't happen, obviously, as you can tell. 300 subscribers, like, thanks. But also, well, um, but yeah, I used to be a vegan activist, and I'm not the sort of activist who goes out in person per se, but I am someone who essentially is in the background and is actively engaging in conversations and stuff, like doing the right thing essentially. And those, I think people have asked me like, why I'm vegan, and I say like it's because of the animals. I don't agree with exploitation, and I won't touch anything that's even remotely been touching that essentially. So there's no case of like I'll eat something where there's like cross contamination. I'll just completely not have that essentially. But yeah, the conversation tends to be somewhere along those lines as best as I can, with obviously um, limited verbal shit. I don't know what you call it. I'm just minimally verbal, so it's pissed me off for so long because it's just it's so harmful in that sense, and it just makes me wish that I I had a better way to. Uh, something weird's happened. I've got to pause this quick. What's a bit false alarm? There's something weird happening on my email address. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so going on to like activism and stuff, and I did it in the background. I used to comment on posts where people are making food essentially, and I'd support those that are vegan, but those are the one I'll be like, yeah, looks good. I'll balance out with a positive message. I'd say like, I wish it wasn't made with animal products. Then I'd definitely eat it. But yeah, like that's sort of the gist of what I used to do. Piss people off for sure, and I don't think you can not piss people off. That's impossible. Trust me on that. Like I've tried many times, like doing things neutrally. And generally, like for that matter, people just do not seem to give a shit. It's the internet, and they think they're invincible for some reason. So what ends up happening, obviously, is they respond in quite a negative light, and again, because they think they're invincible because they're behind the face of the internet, they think they can get away with it and also just easily ignore these topics. So it's all some mental gymnastics and just circle jerking as well, because it's literally a case of people just gathering around and jerking onto each other when they say something like this. Like, oh, you're pushing your views onto me, get them off. But that's not actually happening. Like, nobody can force you into a view. It's really for you to decide, and it's not for say anyone else to enforce. Everyone has a choice in this, but we're still going to criticise the action the same way we criticise child abusers and animal abusers for that matter. Which, by the way, like eating animal products is inherently animal abuse because it's literally linked to that. And yeah, there's a bunch of gross shit around that, and it's hard to really not go into that sort of topic. It's not emotionally charged, but it's literally factually charged. So it's again hard to argue that thing. And I've done that for a while. I've done activism. I also tried to find ways to do it as well. So I made my original music, and I made a track called Where Morality Dies, and it's pretty good overall. Just wish I had better recording equipment, and then it would improve. But until that day, I don't think it's going to really do anything. Um, so yeah, like trying to think of what else there is to say. Um, did I do anything else? I've also met with some vegans in real life, and it was a nice gather up, meet up. It does help with essentially finding friendship and commonality, like that sort of thing. It does really help, believe it or not. I remember going out and trying great food near a local place, and it was like, holy crap, not only is this food great, but I'm surrounded by vegan people. It's like, it was just, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the best nights of my life. And I don't say that lightly because rarely anything does, but that did. I did have a bad night a few months later because of like just shit going on in my life. It's probably not the fault of the people meeting up with. It's great food there, but yeah, it varies for sure. Um, I definitely recommend that, especially if you're in like a minority. Like meeting up with a group of people is generally good for your mental health. I think. I could be wrong, but that's how I view it. So we sort of go into what happened after Divine Arm when I deactivated my account, and what's happened to my essentially form of activism I used to put here on YouTube as well. And I think really the full story is, because it's a very simple story, but the full story is that I've been focusing on my mental health. So I moved house like 2 years ago and got into another bad situation because of people who are just being assholes. And it's included the people who are supposedly trying to look after me. But there wasn't much I could change about that, so I had to move again. And my mental health was still declining, and even now it's still somewhere like better, but it's not perfect. I do wish it could be better. But that's one of the reasons, and I've had less focus to do things because of the medication I've been on. It did actually nullify my brain because I feel a bit sort of more intelligent now, which is weird to say. Ever since coming off the medication, I've had more room to think, and it does make me overthink to an extent. People making noise out there, for some fucking reason. I can't get any peace here as well, which is frustrating. Um, yeah, like, mental health was the main problem. And it wasn't essentially me needing to get into a relationship. It's nothing to do with that, unfortunately. It's just how I framed it. I framed my life in that sense. And I'm just looking to improve my life in other ways. Focus on the things that actually matter. Like video games. Like literally, in place of a relationship, video games are just perfect. You know, like case here, like Final Fantasy 14, like such a massive world with so many things to do. My play time is still quite high on the 70 days. Like you know that it's a long time. Wait, how many hours is that? I'm almost on like, like 24. I can't math at the moment. But yeah, it's something. It's been a good focus, and I do also recommend this as like a pastime for people. Because it is a case of like activists getting burnt out themselves, like people who actually go out there and do things physically. But trying to find things to look forward to when you get home and stuff is definitely a good thing. That's definitely something I've done with hobbies and stuff. Yeah, when I have something to look forward to when I'm done with that, I feel happy in a sense. It does do some quite beneficial things, I think, to the mind. Because you're not always focused on, obviously, the activism, which can be, again, quite demoralising, I think that's the term. It can make you feel like you're alienated, and yeah, like I've said, really. So, other than mental health, I think the other thing is that I just didn't have any ideas. and even now I don't really have any carbon glass. That's what that thing is up front. With the fox creature, I love it. Um, yeah, I just don't have any ideas, and there is one that I recently sort of looked to get into making. It's just like something I could do quickly and do something like quite interesting with this. It's basically like an activism idea where I make shorts based on a gamer's life of a vegan. Like, vegan gamers are pretty much unheard of. I know they exist, but people don't really discuss it, and there's some interesting topics. Now, I actually started a Word document on this because I was quite interested to see what I'd come out with. The way it's got vegan, no shorts, there we go. I have different questions like, what do vegans think of Pokemon, for example? And do you mess with animals in games, and what turns you vegan, like that sort of thing, but what sort of diet? Hardest thing about being vegan, favourite games, which can be interesting because I have a quite long history of it. You know, all the way from Mega Drive of Sonic 3 and Streets of Rage, all the way to also this and Deep Rock Galactic and stuff. There's been many, and it's not as big as some other people's libraries, I don't think. Not as interesting, I don't think, but yeah, that people might find that interesting. I also did game history, yep. But it's like short scripts as well, and I've basically designed it to be short form content. The only problem is, actually I could be doing some whilst I'm doing this actually. The only problem is people don't seem very interested in the idea. Well, I think certainly gamers would be, but for people who will say like vegans as well, they don't seem to find it interesting. Also, I've asked on the subreddit for my account got banned again, and people just didn't seem that interested overall. Honestly, and then you had some weirdo trying to sort of talk about the Pokemon thing as if it was a bad thing. So that was about. So yeah, that's sort of where I am with activism. I haven't given up completely. It's not a case of like, oh, I'm not vegan, I've had health problems. None of that. Like, I'm better than that, really. You know, if there's any pseudoscience in anything I say, then, you know, fuck myself, please. I don't deserve that shit. There's been like various things in my life, and I had to focus on those just to get by. I was still having to focus on things like do a therapy appointment at some point. Supposedly therapy is apparently not. Don't know. But it's worrying in the sense because there's like so much going on in my life. It's just there's not much time to do it. For that matter. Um, so yeah, I'm just kind of stuck in that sense. If you're wondering what I'm doing here on the game, it's farming the mount called Nightmare. It's a pretty cool mount. It's not the most amazing one, but it's something. It's pretty easy to do anyway. But yeah, like, yeah, like, that's sort of my stance on activism at the moment. I'm not outright dismissing it, and actually, truth be told, I'm sort of helping other activists out. Not like directly, but just financially, because I think what they do is important, and also inspiring people, for that matter, is important. One of the things I can address here quickly is like how I got over dystopia, and I used to experience it a lot. Like even now, like I still look at food like, yeah, why do people see this as food? That sort of thing. It's quite horrific in that sense. In that sense, a lot. Just say in the balls, and it feels so horrific to again see this shit. And really, my only strategy is like not necessarily escaping. It's either changing your mindset to fit the situation. Like, oh, here's some history of food. That's probably like a few months ago, to be honest. But also, it's just not something that. What just happened? It's fine. There's a message in chat. Yeah, like changing your mindset so that you can accept it for what it is. Like, for example, I was watching a streamer watch Kitchen Nightmares, just kind of fun, and it was like the old Kitchen Nightmares of Gordon Ramsay and going around restaurants, obviously sometimes trashing them, but it was entertaining. And realizing that's like a part of history helps. So it's not like people are exactly doing this on purpose, like consuming animal products and actually glorifying it. And that's not what they're doing. They're just showing restaurants with troubles and problems in the way that could be used for entertainment, and yeah, there's like ethics around that sort of thing. But again, it's the past now, and something that consider the past is like years, maybe decades in advance. So that's sort of how I address that. The other way is like changing the channel, for lack of a better term, because that's literally one of the only ways you can do that, is to get away from obviously darker thoughts and just not liking humanity that much. So the first game mood for some reason I don't. So that's one way, and I do have sensory issues with the smells and stuff in real life, which is bizarre. I don't know why this happens. It does bother me a lot. Um, I don't really have any way to address it, to be honest, because it's like a housemate problem. It really fucking pisses me off. It's also something that just shouldn't happen anyway. Like, this house is quite crappily built and upgraded, supposedly. So it's just not great in that sense. So again, I need to find a fucking new phrase. But just in the dystopia thing, going back to that again. Realising like what humanity is capable of achieving in good ways is also important. You know, focus on human rights issues, for example, and that'll probably give you your humanity back, because you'll realise there's so many of these issues that are still ongoing, which shouldn't be happening. There's still people fighting for racial rights, women's rights, gay rights. There's tons of disability rights is another big one I don't see mentioned enough. And it's really important. And I'm surprised that nobody's really talking about that as much, even though pretty much the vegan community is like comprised of all these minorities. Like, there's plenty of disabled people here, there's plenty of black people, plenty of gay people, queer, whoever. But focusing on those as well can be beneficial, I know that for sure. And that gives you some faith in humanity to an extent. And also, one of the other interesting things is, I think, obviously, like, the more hardship someone has, the more likely they are to turn vegan. That's something I've noticed. Like, as your hardships sort of pile up, your empathy sort of increases, and I could be wrong on that. But that's what I've sort of understood of it. Yeah, there's like so many like benefits of that to an extent. Because yeah, like hard times can bring positive change, even ones where you're actually the, I wouldn't say like predator but perpetrator. Because that can literally be a turning point for you. It literally can change you for good. Not everyone's going to be capable of it, sure, but people are going to be able to. That's certain. Some probably better than others, like easier, whatever. But then I suppose the other thing is like detaching yourself from the entire food outlook of things and lifestyle. So, because, oh god, holy crap, that's lost. I was expecting that. Yeah, like that sort of thing, I think. Focusing away from food is really essential. because that's literally where these issues come from. There's some help. Also, go outside and use it for now. But yeah, like it's not necessarily avoiding triggers because in my experience with most trauma as well, like some of the times I've been hit as a child and also seen dead people, it's actually better to address it as like exposure therapy or something and desensitizing yourself over time. That's how I've been able to watch so many cases of like animal abuse and stuff just for investigation's sake. Dominion documentary and some like I don't know what they call it, like solar activists, grassroots, and like people who just do sort of tougher shit over those that actually go like all out, but like more confined shit, I guess is the term. Um, so focusing away from that is helpful, but obviously running away from it completely isn't going to help. Because again, these poles will roll up and the dystopia will get stronger. And I used to think for a while as well, focusing on like, I watched a lot of live streams, for example, and I used to watch different people, and then I got dystopia, and then I started watching vegan streamers, which exist. It was actually an entire streaming team. I don't really watch them anymore, to be fair. I just don't find many of them that entertaining. Yeah, given that most don't really actually focus on games, but some do. I do recommend them though. But that can be a breath of fresh air in a tough time, especially, and also if you're like me with like autism, like jumping, and like autistic burnout and stuff, it can help to. What was I going to say? What did I forget? What I was going to say? Um, it could sometimes help to not go into triggers like that. So, for example, I watched a streamer called Northern Lion. He has some weird views on veganism, just to say, but he's pretty entertaining as a streamer, and he has some good friends as well, I think. Some are actually vegetarian and vegan, also vegetarian and vegan will be more likely to be like less of like a, I don't know, like, what do you call it, like carnism? I don't know, there's like less focus on food, I think, for those people. But you do have people who are more empathetic and can try vegan food and stuff every now and then. But anyway, like example of Northern Lion, he does these daily challenge things like I think one of them used to be World Orc, but I don't know if that is. It's like different things now. It's like World Orc equivalents of like music, for example, and stuff. But he also does food guessing games, and so it's the most popular one supposedly. And yeah, like these are problematic for a few reasons, and it can be quite triggering. So I prefer not to watch these streams when I'm in burnout because it might make things worse. So I'll look for a live stream that's basically focused on games, and a stream that I'll know that is decent anyway. So I'll switch streams or just not watch Northern Line at all and just watch someone else. Simple as that. It's not possible to do either. Like I watch Twitch and it's a crappy platform, but it does have some decent recommendations here and there. I've definitely found some new streamers from that. I've seen crazy streamers as well. It's kind of a funny thing about it, but that can help. So not necessarily focusing your attention away from things, but making sure that you're in a safe environment in that sense, so that there's less triggers and you're not going to struggle as much. And I think it probably goes for most mental health as well. That sort of well-being is important and looking after yourself. But also the other thing that's the other big bit of advice. It's actually to focus on the opposite. Like, don't focus on doing activism. Focus on relaxation or whatever it is that will make you sort of be able to ignore the world and just get away, like as I said, like games and stuff, finding a focus. But literally diverting your attention away from activism rather than obsessing over it just helps. Because I've been in that mindset before, where I've wanted to just help every day, just do activism and never stop. The only problem with that is not everyone is equipped to do that. And I think there's often this conflation and online and misconception where activists who do tons of work are somehow viewed as inspirational, like I don't know what you call it, like I don't know, but you just feel like you can do more just because they are able to do it, but that's not always going to be possible. Everyone has limitations and boundaries and stuff. And, you know, even if you're doing like activism once per week, it's still better than nothing. Because at the end of the day, it's your well-being, and you do have to look after it. But focusing your life on this shit, it's like Jesus, like there's so much more to life than activism. I don't think people are actually doing it like hours every day, but people who are doing it like once a day sort of thing, you're gonna have problems. Simple as that, you're gonna be a more likelihood of developing problems. This is why you see certain content creators now just completely focusing away from activism and doing other things, or not even doing activism, so that they can sort of gather the thoughts and see wait for the next idea to come or whatever. Like it varies. But taking breaks and making sure you have space between everything you do is very important. But it's so important that I'm surprised that people don't actually mention it more often. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing all these years. I haven't given up. I've just been trying to focus on more important things like mental health. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say here really. Yeah, it's a selfish thing for sure. Again, like without me to sort of be a voice for the animals, like what good is that going to do? Like if I'm dead because I've committed suicide, like how the fuck am I supposed to help anyone? How am I supposed to help animals? That's the question here. You literally can't if you're dead, and you probably can't if you're suffering either. So that's the important distinction, really. Um, so I think that's about everything I could say. Thanks for listening. Hopefully, it's informed people why I'm not doing activism as frequently. Again, it used to be confined to divine art, and now it's all over the place, and I just do it whenever I feel like I can. And obviously, I'm contributing financially to organisations so that they can do effective activism as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and see you on another time.